The project that I want to show you today is a really cool, exciting project. This is where this is a way to build a hollow form where you have room to put whatever you want inside, your heartfelt, your keepsake. So it's building a bezel, and we're putting either glass or plexiglass on top of it. So to get started with, you're gonna need about 3 inches each. This is a 1/2 inch sterling silver bezel wire. That is, it's just maybe about 18 gauge. And then I've got here a 16 gauge square wire. You could use 18 gauge square wire. That's going to be up to you. Square wire is beautiful though. You could use round wire, but square wire is really nice for this project because we're using this as a shelf to support a piece of glass or plexiglass. And then whatever size your bezel is going to be, you just need some sheet metal to put on top of that too. So to get started, you guys, I kind of love these really big pieces here. I've got my hard solder in this corner. I've got some medium solder here and some easy over in this corner. So it's really easy for me to just grab from what I need. Okay, give me a spritz of some flux, get everything fluxed up. And what I'm gonna do is make sure this is coated beautifully. And I'm gonna just put a layer of hard solder on here so I don't have to leak this out all over the place. So, get my torch. Here we go. My flame does not have to be that hot. I'm just working with a very small gauge of wire. And when you're working with wire, you don't have to have your torch that hot. Okay, here we go. Get some of this put down. I use pick soldering, so I don't do too much. There we go. Got it all the way down to the end. Get that solder nice and spread out. You don't need that much solder. Get a little bit more in between here. A little bit more in here. That should be enough. There we go. Solder flows where heat goes. So that's all we need. Is I just need to heat up my whole piece to get this flowing. Okay, I'm gonna give this one another spray. And I am going to usually I'll go back in and I will kind of quench it in my flux just so I can get it placed in the right place. Sometimes I have to use my hands for that, get the right side down. So I want to make sure, you know what, I'm going to go on top of the screen here. Always nice to have that heat under. So I'm going to go a little bit on top of the screen right here so I can get under. And I just want to line this up nice and straight. See how I have it about, if I broke this into quarters or into thirds, I have it right up in this top 1/3. Get it exactly straight. And if your wire isn't that straight, you can actually hammer it with the rubber mallet to get it exactly where you want it to be. I want to leave room for my piece of glass also to set it down, but I also want to make sure I have enough room to put the object in or anything that I'd want to have inside my bezel. Okay. Okay. Get in here. I'm just going to get my screen nice and hot, and I really want to work under this. So I'm going to get my screen hot and work under my bezel just to get this wire, the solder on the wire, flowing onto the sheet metal. There we go. There we go. You really want to make sure with this, I'm going to be curving this bezel over later. So one thing you really want to make sure of is that your solder has flown. Your solder has really set nice and solid, because you want, if you try to curve, if there's a little piece of your wire that has not set, then when you go to curve it, it's going to pop up and create a mess. So this is nice and straight and done. I'm going to actually go over and pickle this real quick. Quench it and pickle it. Let me quench it. And actually the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off these ends. You can see I usually make the ends a little bit bigger than what I need, just to make sure if something adjusts that I can get back in there again. So I'm going to take this and just cut off the excess. This is going to have to be really flush when I'm ready. And I'm going to pickle this, so I'll be right back. Okay, I have my piece out. I didn't sit it in there for a long time because I don't need it super clean. In the end, with my pickle, I'll take like a good 15 minutes, 10 minutes and soak my piece when I'm really ready to end things. But for now, I'm actually just going to keep moving. This is clean enough to solder. It'll be a beautiful solder and it'll look good. So what I want to make sure now is that I have a really straight line on each side. So I'm going to start and do the best straight line as possible. And then I will have to use my file to get the rest of it straight. So, you know, when I'm working my ends, anytime I make a cut like that, I want to make sure it's nice and flush. And then what I'm going to do is I can see that this isn't going to be that straight yet. So with my file, I'm going to actually set it right here on the end. So I'm going to set it right here on the end, right by the straight line here. And I'm just going to go through with my file. You only want to go one direction, but this is going to, it's right up flush to the end, and it's making sure that I keep my line nice and straight. Before I even bend this piece. Okay, this end, same thing. In this way, oh my gosh, that sounds like ASMR. In this way, the, you know, it really gets, you just can keep it going the same way. I might have more filing to do after I get done bending this, but I think I'm going to do an oval shape. Now this goes on the inside, and this is the top, the shallow end. So this is going to go on the inside, and I'm just going to do an oval. Actually, I think an oval will be a good one, or a circle will be a good one to start. I might just do a circle. That actually would be really nice. When you're first starting a project, some of the easiest to do is a medium-sized circle. When I teach a beginning silversmithing course, I always start with, you know, really the easiest shape that you can. And then you can get into complexity like squares and, you know, small, tiny. I love doing these type of pieces tiny. It'd be really beautiful, these hollow forms tiny, but I wanted to show you guys a little bit larger. Okay, now remember, we don't have to have it exactly bent into shape for how exactly we want it to sit, but I'm going to exaggerate this to get a spring in here and see how my ends are going to fit together. Let's see if I can get them together well. This just takes a little bit of work, but I'm showing you guys the work that it takes. You know, it's not something that's super easy. I want to make sure these are pressed down. So I'm going to press this part of my silver down, bring it back around. Okay. Ooh, getting to be a beautiful fit. Okay, I did the inside piece with a hard solder. This piece is going to be done with hard solder again. So we'll have two times that I used hard solder. And then we'll move into medium solder. But for now, this is the hard solder. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to put my seam face down. Really dip it into here. Get some good flux on here. There we go. And get my pick out, and I'll get my hard solder on to close up this seam. Now I'm going to use my torch a little hotter. Dip it in flux. I'm going to need to put one on the other side. There we go. There we go. Let's see how this side is down. A little bit more solder. I know you guys can't quite see this, but nah, I need my bezel a little closer together. Okay, let me take a look at my seam. Give it a little quench. I've got a little bit of solder on the side. I still might have a little space right here. You have to be careful putting these all together. Okay. Okay, let me get this sanded down. So I'll usually do something like this to get, get it sanded down here. See what it looks like. Get this pickled. Make sure my shape is exactly the way that I want it. And I love this. I'm going to do this shape. Love that shape. One of the things that you have to do once you get your bezel set is that you need to rub the bottom of your piece. You should really see the whole bottom of this white. When you can see that it is hitting all of the silver, that means that you're on the right track. Yep. That means it's nice and flush and you're on the right track. Actually, I don't even have to go in and hit this with, I don't going to hit this yet because I've got my sheet metal right here. This is the only part that's going to be touching the solder, so it is clean enough. Now I'm going to put this right in the center because I might build onto it. We'll see. I'm just going to show you this technique here, but this is the bezel. So I'm going to get the bezel put on here, get this nice and heated up. Okay, now I get some medium. Get my soldering pick. Just kind of get it knocked in. Now, you guys know, if you guys don't know, I usually put in extra solder so I can get my side band attached. Usually I'll put something along the sides of my piece. So I usually put in a little bit extra, get everything out to the sides. My paintbrush. So I get a nice flow going. Can you guys see inside? I'll tip it over to you guys once I get everything down. Okay. I'll tip it over, let it dry up. Okay, you guys can see it? That's what it looks like inside. I've got extra because I'm gonna put like a band of twisted wire or something around the outside. I heated it up the first time because that should dry it up enough to hold this solder into place. I see that it's still a little bit wet, but this should be good. I just want it all around the side. Okay, now I'm gonna get my glass off of here. Okay. Get a nice hefty flame going. And I'm gonna start under. Heat up my screen, heat up the bottom of my bezel sheet. This is a 22 gauge that I have on the bottom, but you are welcome to use 24, 22, 20. You know, we're actually not gonna have a double side on here, so it won't be too heavy. Nice and sturdy. Get that heat going under. There's a way I like to operate. This is a nice strong bezel with that 1/2 inch with 18 gauge. So I'm going to come in from the top a little bit. Come in on the sides. Nice and cold in here, so it's taking a little bit longer. Everything's cold. There we go. There we go. The solder's flowing. There we go. Make sure I see that white all the way around. Beautiful. Is it here? Make sure it's here. Okay, a little bit on this side. It's moving nice and slow today, guys. Looks like I need a little bit more here. Here we go. A little bit more here. Right where the seam is. Okay. Gorgeous. Okay. Everything is soldered down. Looks super good. I am going to quench this. So I just pulled this out of the pickle. I actually, you know what, you guys didn't see it. I realized that I soldered it with the wrong side down, and I should have showed you guys how to flip it around, but I had to flip it. So what you really need, and I'm going to remind you here, is that you can see where I have the square wire right here, where I have the square wire. You actually have to have this 1/3, you know, this shorter up to the top, because we're going to put a lid on here. So I need 2/3 of the room on the bottom. And then I need 1/3 for this top part here. So anyway, that is the way that you guys can see it better from here. So that's the way it has to work. So I had to flip mine over. Everything is still working out right. I do have a lot of solder in here in the center, but don't worry, because remember I told you guys, the way that I do things, I've got something going around the band on the outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and spritz it all. And I am going to get a band fit to go around the side. I'm going to use some beaded wire. So this is, cut off this end. I'm using some beaded wire and going to get this. If you guys are really good at soldering, use beaded wire. If you're not so good at soldering, just use maybe twisted wire, because twisted wire holds up so much better than beaded wire, and there's a couple layers to the beaded wire anyway. The beaded wire is whole, you know, it's circles, so actually it is harder. You know, you're just soldering a little piece of it to stay onto the end. Okay, well, here's how I do it. I'm bringing it all the way around, keeping it super tight, and then I'm going to mark it right there. Okay, it's exactly where I want to cut it to have a perfect fit. And I'm doing it right like this. And I'm pulling it away. Nice flush end on here. Let's see if that's gonna work. That can be a little bit big. I think I need it one more removed. Okay, I need one more removed. We get one more removed right here. Okay. Save that little piece of silver. Okay. This one, I do have a black marker on here. The black marker is really to mark exactly where the solder has to go. Sometimes if you get such a beautiful fit, you can't even tell where the start and the end is. So thank God. This one is a beautiful fit. So I'm glad I have my little marker on there. Now I can tell where I need to solder. Okay. I'm going to use a hard solder. I don't need that big of a flame on my torch. Okay. Get a piece of hard, which is right here. And this is fine silver, by the way. So the fine silver will not get dirty from the torch. So I won't have to pickle this. There we go. Okay. You don't want to over solder it. So this is done with a hard. So what I just do is a non-pickling flux, and I just dip it in here because that takes off any fire scale. And it is ready to be fit down with a little bit of work to stretch out part of it or get it put on here beautifully. There we go. Sometimes you just need, it's perfect if you have a little bit of work to get this to go down. That means it's going to be a beautiful fit once I get it on here. You don't really want to see baggy, you know, baggy at the bottom. So very carefully just bring it around. Slowly but surely. A little bit at a time. That's the thing with beaded wire, is that you do not want to break. It's easy just to break the beaded wire if you're not careful. There we go. So it's just slow but sure work with the beaded wire. You could do a lot more stretching with the twisted wire. There we go. It's gonna look nice. Great fit. See how great that fit is? Okay. Now I don't have to, I'm just gonna spritz everything, but I don't have to put any solder down, thank God, because the beaded wire, you can see solder so easily on the side. So this is just something that I started formulating and doing where I don't even have to put more solder down. I'm just gonna pull it out from the center, pull it out from the inside, and really hit it hard down here. Let me get a little bit hotter. I'm having a lot of silver work against me, so I really can get my torch nice and hot now. I'm heating up the bottom and I'm heating up the plate. can see the solder starting to flow down here, so that's good. When I can see that solder flowing, I'm just going to very carefully go around, make sure it's hitting all of the outside, push the beaded wire, make sure it's down. There we go. Just kind of moving it back and forth. There we go. Beautiful. This is all tacked down nicely, and it's super quick. There. This is really going to finish it off. So I am going to do, let me get this wet. Let me quench this, and I'm going to show you guys something right here and now. I'm going to work right here. So let me just get this wiped off. This is what I like to do while this is pickling. So it's dirty, but it's done. It's so pretty. It's going to be beautiful. We've got the lip on the inside. So I'm going to take some plexiglass right here. This I got from Home Depot, and it's an 8 by 10. You know, it's not, you can buy whatever thickness that you like. I cut off a piece of that. So what you need to do with plexiglass, as you know, are jewelers. I use my jeweler's saw to cut these. So I'm just cutting off squares in the corner. I have got one side peeled and one side is filmy. It has the plastic still on it. So I want to, this is the side I can face down so it doesn't get scratched or dirty. And I'm going to cut a piece that fits exactly, and then if you wanted to, you can bring it back to Home Depot and get glass cut the size, or you can keep the plexiglass on there. So the way I'm going to measure this, which I'm going to turn this upside down, and I have got my marker. Okay, so I have my plexiglass here. I traced the outside and I'm ready to cut it. I actually put it in an 03 blade because it's nice and thicker. You want either, actually this is an 02 or an 01. You want something that has a bigger blade on here. So I'm just gonna lubricate it a little tiny bit. And remember, I wanna really stay on the inside of this circle. And I don't want to move my blade fast. I went over a little bit how to just saw on a regular basis, but this I'm just going to turn. I'm going to stay very gently on the inside of my marker line because I want this to be on the inside shelf. It's a little harder sawing on plastic, but it works well and you get these beautiful cuts with your jeweler saw, and why not? I'm always one, I like to keep things as simple as possible with as least amount of tools as possible, so getting into this plexiglass is perfect. Your right hand with the saw should not be tired. It's your left hand that has to hold everything in place that starts to get tired after a little bit. That's the way it should be until you get used to sawing all the time. I've got my protective plastic still on top of the plexiglass. I'll just probably use this plexiglass here, and you guys will just be careful to follow the line exact, because we're going to be setting this back into the space and it has to be a perfect fit. So you want to stay on that inside line. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay. Voila. there it is. Okay. Okay, I have my plexiglass cut out, and when I get this closer, I can remove the plastic that's on here. Let's see where that plastic is. Get this plastic off of here. Or remember, at this point, you guys can bring in your disc over to Home Depot and they can cut glass. At least mine here does that. But there are many different places that can cut your glass, and that can be your decision. Okay, one side does have to, I do have to peel off right here. But to move forward, here's my piece. You're going to want to put an attachment on here. I'm not going to close mine up all the way for that reason, but you can just take whatever you decide you want to put into here. I might just do, these are dried flowers, I might just do these little petals right here. Maybe I'll just cut some of the ends off, put them in, be nice and colorful. So anything, you know, that you really have good memories in your life is what you're going to want to bring in. Okay, when I decide what I'm going to fill in here, I've got my fill, but I'm going to take this out, you know, once I have things prepared. And what I need to do is I'm going to cut down some little cuts on the side that I can use as staples. So I'm going to go ahead and mark off 4 areas. You just need 4 tabs. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in 1 minute. Okay, I've got my 4 areas marked off. I've got my jeweler saw ready with, got my jeweler saw ready. This is still the aught, I still have the aught 3 in here. I'm sorry, the aught 2. And I'm going to bring this over to the end. Usually I'd be working on my jeweler saw, but I'm perfectly fine. And I'm going to bring this right over to the end and just start. I'm holding my thumbnail really close here, and I'm letting the saw just kind of work its way down. I have a slight tilt on here, and I'm just going to bring it down all the way to that square wire. And here we go here too. I just want a little tab to tab over. Unless you're putting liquid inside, you're going to need a, you know, a super, super tight. I'm not putting liquid inside mine. So I'm going to work this one here. Do a little bit of a tab. I just say 4 because 4 is enough to mark this all down. You could set it like a bezel if you wanted to. I'm just going to use tabs in this instance. But, you know, really always take an idea and make it your own. Do what you want with it. Okay, 2 more. I've got one here. Those 2. Okay, and 1 left right here. I know you guys are having trouble seeing this exact, but I'll show you the 4 tabs when I'm done. They just need to be equal. They need to be equal. So here's 1 here, 1 here. They need to be equally land at the same place and down. Okay. So now I am ready to load everything back in that you want in your piece. This could be just something that, you know, reminds you of things in your life or something you're looking for. And the important part, I'm going to dust this off both sides. The important part is to make sure that you can put it in the exact same way that you want it to. If your plexiglass, if you're using plexiglass and it gets clouded up or scratched, there's a good product that you can use. One of them is toothpaste, and just kind of rub it on the surface and clean it, and it'll get it back to a nice smooth surface. And the other product is Polly Watch. Polly Watch. This man right here who works with watches is telling me that's what he used on his plastic. So I am going to get this to fit in here as beautifully. Okay, let's get this in. Let me pull this side out a little bit. I just had it in a minute ago. And sometimes you just give it a little more room on the sides to get it nice and comfortable in there. Okay. Let's see, I don't think that's it. Well, you guys get to see how I fumble around a little bit, right? There we go. There we go. See? When you get it to the right place, it just works. Get it all the way pressed down. Let it rest on the square wire. Look at how beautiful that is. Gorgeous. Okay. Now I'm going to take, the last thing I want to do is, these are the pliers that I use, are needle nose pliers. Needle nose pliers, and I can just very gently bring the whole bezel right up to the side of your piece. Remember how I pulled it out a little bit? So I want to make sure everything is nice and tight and set beautifully in here. And then I am just going to bring it over to the end, and I'm just going to fold down one of the staples. You don't want to fold it all the way down. I just kind of work slowly around the side. So actually, I'm going to use this piece here and fold that down, bring it in. These are nice straight pliers, and then I'll go back in with the needle nose. Okay, just kind of bend it in place. Now I'll go in with the needle nose. That can really give me a nice tight hug onto my bezel. Okay. Ah, beautiful. This is exactly what I wanted to build. And it has movement inside there. You can put a little bit or a lot inside there. And it's your own personal pieces and memento for what you like in your life.